Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tap into the Gray. This is episode number 7, where I'd like to talk to you about discipline with my featured guest, namely my friend Barry. Barry, I've known ever since high school. We've started rapping back in the day together, old school hip hop, 90s rap, and we were known as Two Tone Tactics. We had a lot of fun with that, but he then later on moved on to getting into the kitchen, hospitality, cooking and stuff, and then graduated into becoming an award-winning chef. And I thought that with his expertise and how much he's put into this whole chef role and his career, I just figured there's a lot that he's got to share some insight there. So Barry, tell us a little bit about yourself, when you got started and maybe, how long you've been doing this and what's your favorite thing about being a chef.
Um, that's a tough one. But so yeah, we know each other since high school, obviously. During that time, or actually a little bit before that time, I actually started off in Wendy's, I think. I think
Mm-hmm.
Wendy's, the burger joint was my first place, like Wendy's and then McDonald's, and then moved into I went to go work at a hotel. Or actually no, first I went to work at Disney and getting it like that was a whole different thing. It was still kind of a quick service thing or whatever, but it's faster, a lot more, people. And then I went to work at Holiday Inn, which was different. The hotel was kind of a slower pace with like crazy days shoved in between. But then I went to work at the sports bar. You remember I was working at the Gators Dockside.
How can I
Like,
forget?
yeah. And then,
We
it
worked
became
together
like
there,
kitchen.
bro.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, we did. And
Yeah.
became like kitchen manager, like lead kitchen manager, and just this is the progression, just going from there to that. And then it wasn't long after. Well, I did take a little break for some time to do some work with the music. I had another friend that had a metal band.
Yeah, yeah, I remember. Yeah, you were managing pretty awesome metal band, and I remember I went to a few events. We hung out.
It's
We had a
pretty.
great
Yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah.
That's another thing too. Yeah, man, you held on strong with that.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that but that went on for a few years, so that took me away from the kitchen for a little while. But then once that came to an end, I got back into the kitchen, and that's when I started getting actually serious. I went to a better restaurant. I had a chef, Robert Walker, like kind of took me in. Well, it was hard to get a job. It was 2008, so like I had gotten laid off from this other job I was doing, out of work for a while, and that was kind of messed up, And then I managed to get back into the kitchen, and this guy gave me a chance and believed in me and let me do some of my own specials and stuff when I was really green for that type of kitchen. Like this is more of a full service, upscale, casual. This wasn't just slapping burgers and stuff together or slinging
Hmm.
tossing the wings in a bowl and stuff, shit like that. But
Right, right.
that's
Yeah.
when it started changing there, yeah. And then worked with him for there and another place, and then we kind of parted ways, mostly because my car had broken down. I ended up going something like kind of going to the country club route and spent a lot of time there, where I was kind of stuck in neutral there for a while. But I did enjoy. I had a lot of creative control every week, being able to do different specials and stuff. I really, for a good 6.5 years, I got to really own my craft, but a lot of time to see what worked. Most things worked. I remember there was a couple dishes where like, man, they came out so good, but they just,
Uh-huh.
not that nobody got it, but just a lot of times people would like buy them like crazy. You're talking about plates between $40 and $60 a plate that were my creation. And these
Wow.
people are from all over the world. This is a business club. There's entertainers, ex-athletes and stuff, but a lot of lawyers, stuff like that. These people travel the world. Some of these people are crazy millionaires, and a lot of times they have dishes and stuff, and like the head chef would come back like, "Hey, Barry, just want to let you know, we knew them all by name, all unless they had guests there with them. Like Mr. So and so said that was the best freaking lamb dish he's had. He's been all over the freaking world and
Damn.
stuff like that." yeah, it just makes you
Hell
feel
yeah.
good. And then of course we got some awards there for our work in the back of house, and took our club to well, it's kind of hard to explain. So we'd have these numbers every week that would come out, and
Hmm.
it was like satisfactory type of things like cleanliness, service, food quality, um, creativity or whatever. There's kind of all these different categories, and there'd be percentages of what we're doing at the club, as opposed to the hundreds of other clubs that are owned by this big company. And when I started there, like it was something we took a lot of pride in. Me and another buddy of mine that worked the line a lot and got to do our specials and all this special dinners and everything. But we took the company
Right.
from where they were operating at like a 68 to 70% approval rating from the guests, from the members themselves, and we brought us up to like 98%. So like
Oh,
where
wow.
Orlando was on the same scale as our club in Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago, we brought that shit up there. It was pretty, it was pretty amazing. Like a lot of people don't, they look at the head chef and they think, and nothing against him, but that's a job where it's a lot of, he used to say shaking hands and kissing babies, he would always say. And we always wished he was in the kitchen with us more, like just getting down with us and shit, but he just,
Right.
his shirt never got dirty. It's kind of a different position when you're that role
Yeah.
in the country club, and the guys that are really doing the stuff are back here like, yeah, hey. But anyways, like I took a lot of pride in that. Me and my friend Chris Guzman, like he was there. Chris Topher, we call him Toph. He's out in Tampa
Hmm.
now. He's a head chef at some hospital out there. I can't remember which hospital, but he's been doing that for years, and he gets to put on special events for like the doctors and stuff like that, like to satisfy that creative outlet there. But anyway, so
Nice.
that I talk about that a lot because I spent a lot of years there. But then after that, I went to K restaurant where I was supposed to go as sous chef. That took a few months, and then I became sous chef, and then I became the chef, of the restaurant, so where I was calling the shots, and the food was all
Hell
mine
yeah.
and my wife. Obviously, Amanda, but she, out of
Yes,
necessity, she
sir.
came on, not really being a classically. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, she learned some stuff in school. We both learned when we went to culinary school, which I forgot to mention, but yes, did that as well. So she knew some stuff about baking, basic stuff, but she had been messing around at the house, and we needed a pastry chef. And the owner was like, "Yeah, just bring her in then." I'm like, "Okay." And she came in and she just crushed it. Like she just really killed it over there. But yeah, anyways, like so we were running that for a while, and then unfortunately the owner got sick, and then COVID happened at the same time, so they just had to shut it
Mm.
down. And then I ended up going to the old jailhouse in Sanford, which is an old jailhouse that's been remodeled, like huge. Like the owner spent a lot of money. I mean, it looks amazing. The
And
the
so that
the
way the
decor and
listeners
everything.
and the viewers know this isn't an actual jailhouse. This is a restaurant.
Well, yeah,
My
yeah,
friend
yeah.
wasn't
Well, no, it
incarcerated.
was originally
Just
the
cheese on
old
Tuesday.
jailhouse in downtown, but they took
Yeah.
this old actual jailhouse and converted it into a restaurant, and it's really amazing looking. So we started there. Amanda was doing dessert, and kind of my unofficial, like I like my sous chef as well, like a second sous chef to my other sous chef, because if there was ever, a time where I had to step out or something or whatever, if I really needed to, there was a couple of times I had her work for me because I had to be out of work for whatever reason. But I mean, she, not just pastry, I mean, she can run the kitchen really well, and maybe see if you can talk to her about that at some point on
Oh,
the show or
absolutely.
whatever, because she probably likes the camera less than me. But yeah,
So that means we got to get her on.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, so we started there, and that was when I took over at K, that was an existing thing, and so was the jailhouse, but they were only open for 1 year, so they were still very new. and the old chef had moved aside. And nothing against him, but our two worlds of culinary were just night and day. He had his way, and a lot of people liked it, and I had my way, and probably a lot more people liked my way. But we
Great.
we started off there. I couldn't quite do everything like I did at K, where we get stuff in from like local farms, and we also had a little garden in back of the restaurant where we would literally go out like right before service and cut up certain vegetables that we had growing back
Oh,
there, or we'd
nice.
have like herbs and stuff, and needed some fresh herbs. We go snip some stuff for service for garnishing or flavoring, or getting sage leaves and frying them up to put on a little dish or whatever. And I wasn't quite able to do that at the jailhouse because the jailhouse was just a much bigger animal. I couldn't justify some of those higher, even though it's considered, they call it fine dining because it looks really fancy, but the crowd is quite a mixture in this particular town, and people come from out. It's kind of weird. Like there's some people are like, "This is amazing." Some people are like, "Well, this is good, but I can't see paying this much money for it." And in
Hmm.
2020, obviously with COVID and shit, the cost of goods and everything was so insane. Not just for the average people, but at restaurants. A lot of people didn't realize that people were complaining and just bitching, like, I'm not paying. Why should I have to pay this much for this or that or whatever? Like, dude, like my food cost. I'm getting screwed on it myself. I can't just eat it on this deal, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a very normal food cost. Like, I had to sell a freaking burger for almost $20 for a burger. The cost on the beef I was getting was so high. Like, you can go with something cheaper, but it's going to be a total shit product. But I don't know. Some people with a burger's a burger. Some people look at a burger like, man, that's the best burger I ever fucking had. So it's like, sorry about the cussing. I don't know if
Nah. Hey,
all
hell no.
right.
Let it fly. Fuck
um,
it. I do.
all right, fuck it. Um, so anyways, fast forward real quick. So we opened the jailhouse. The old chef dipped out during the shutdown, and I was supposed to take over another place, but instead they were like, well, this guy left. Would you want to take this over? I'm like, absolutely, because it was more in my wheelhouse than the other place. The other place was like a sports bar grill, which nothing wrong with that at all. I had my time like Gators and stuff. Those, what, 3 years or whatever I was at Gators, and a couple other smaller places that I wasn't really there long enough. It was just extra money. I wouldn't really mention just a couple other sport. Well, I'll mention Friendly Confines because I like those people a lot. The good family that owns that place.
Yeah, good
um,
restaurant.
yeah, yeah, no, it's a good spot, man. It's good. It's good. I mean, it's good because they're from Chicago, and so we always had that kind of, hey, oh, you're from Chicago, like basically outside of Chicago, not really from Chicago, but not a lot of people know where Gary, Indiana is, but it's pretty much, it's almost like a part of Chicago, like a really fucked up suburb of Chicago. Like when you watch the news and you're like, wow, this here's this place that just got bombed this week, and you're like, holy shit, like, well, this, like, Gary, like a lot of Gary, Indiana looks like that, like they could film, what do you call it? They could film, The Last
Chernobyl.
of
No, I'm
Us
just
there, so
fucking.
like The Last of Us, because of the buildings, like a lot, it's crazy, dude. A lot of the buildings are just over, like just falling apart, and over like the earth is reclaimed, the fucking built, like they're just the earth is growing up around the buildings, and just like they're just disappearing a lot of places because it's so old and fucked up. Back back to the jailhouse. So we start there. We're kicking ass. We're at 25% capacity because of the COVID thing. Then we went up to 50 and 75, and of course up to 100%. And it was rough once I lost one of my people. I had Amanda. We had decided to have, kind of unofficially, have a second and last child. um, because we liked the first one so much. We were like, why? Let's do it again. Without bringing Amanda into it, the first pregnancy, she was, she's a chef as well. She was working for a very famous chef, and she was. I won't go too much on that right now. Like, we'll save that for another time. But she worked up until like right before she had the baby, like in a crazy busy line, hot, bumping around. This time, Like she never had morning sickness or any kind of thing like that with the first baby. Well, this time she did. So after a short while, like she's like, I think I'm gonna stop working because of the, let's see, whatever. Okay, okay. So then that kind of shifted things around. The person I brought on as my sous chef and friend, she's like, well, I'll step over to that and kind of still be your sous chef unofficially, but then I want to take care of like desserts and stuff. And then I had to move another guy into the position of my sous chef, but I honestly really didn't want to. I just felt like it was out of necessity. Things started kind of getting a little tough about a year into it when around the time like Amanda had to step aside. Yeah, it started to get kind of rough. But I just kind of just powered through like always. Being down a person, I was just working crazy amounts of hours. It really just wore me down big time. So when right before the second child was born, I was already just up to my neck fighting for survival, if you will, because it was just a no-win kind of battle. Being down, at least I was always down one person, so that just meant I had to work so much more. Getting up in the morning before everybody's awake, and then getting home at night when everybody's asleep, day after day
Yeah.
after day, starts that takes a toll on you big time. And not just that, the physical aspect, your legs, and I'm not getting any younger. But
Yeah.
the crazy part of that is really what's really fucking insane is that there's that old, because I'm old, getting pretty old. I would say uh, we're getting older. um,
Yeah.
but
Them grays is coming through over here, brother. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, I know I got a little but there's this old school mentality that's it's so ingrained in you when you've been in the business for so long. If you're anywhere around this age or like you were saying, like I'm 47, I'll be 48 very soon. I would say if you're any age, like maybe even 30, just depends on if you work for somebody old school. Like most places, like I came up, with people fighting in the kitchen. Like I mean, just like actual fights and shit, chefs yelling, screaming
Yeah.
at you. You do something wrong, and a fucking pan comes flying at you, and you're like, "Holy shit!" That shit is for the most part all gone now. Um,
Yeah.
but so the point I'm getting to with that is like that going through all that stuff. There's always like this. I don't know, like some people get the tattoos and stuff, or like they might get a skull and crossbone over like their chef knife in their arm, or fucking, badass fucking chef or whatever. You just do it. Like you just put up with it.
I got to thank you because the thing is that you dropped a whole lot there. And I just want to kind of put it all together, just, bullet point a few things and especially for our listeners and viewers out there, as far as what's relative to the whole discipline thing is, I'll tie it all up together.
True.
So
Yes.
there's some clarity is that everybody, in what you heard there, um, my friend started off from the bottom and as part of discipline, there was a lot of change. There's a whole lot of things that in steps that happened along the way that required discipline. And I always say discipline is subordinate to determination. And you were very determined to get to a certain level, becoming a certain, type of chef, because
Yeah.
anyone can stop along the way, whether they're going to fast food and they're like, okay, well, I've had my knack of that, and they move on to the other stuff. Getting into the restaurant industry, stop there as far as working in a full kitchen. Others want to take it all the way. You and Amanda actually went as far as going to get special education on that, real
Right.
education on that that was
Yeah.
specifically for that. And as far as discipline has to go, that has been the whole theme to this whole thing is that even as the industry was changing, even though you had some obstacles along the way, whether it had to do with certain owners or if not, maybe it had been the economy that had changed some things. It's something that can't be ignored. Is that we're talking
Right.
about what decades of pushing through. And that's something that people have to applaud, because there's a lot of people out there that want that drive and determination for whatever it is that they're passionate about, but somehow along the way it may get lost. Somehow it may not even be discovered. It's a deep want. It's something that they are passionate about as far as wanting this thing, but the drive, or should I say the determination, isn't there. Maybe the
Yeah.
drive is there to get started, but then boom, next you know, something comes in and clips them off, and that's life. I've had that happen to
Yeah.
me where, I've
Yeah.
got a whole, like, I'm Mr. Jack of all trades. I kind of, in my situation, I've told people like, yeah, I really haven't really mastered individual things with the things that I've done, like graphic illustration, using certain programs, Photoshop, Illustrator, 3D printing, audio, photography. But I've got my intermediate skills on all of those, and I've combined them for my mastery in doing things like what we're
Tying it all
doing here right
together
now.
now with with the podcast. Like there's
There you
all things
go.
you're talking about that you need for that. I
Yeah,
mean, it counts. I think it's
it
funny
does.
you say that because it was like I was talking about from what the guy, I can't remember the exact quote, but from Rich Dad Poor Dad, where he's saying like most people are just one skill away from this greatness or whatever. And that's not saying, and then that's not saying that you don't have that. It's saying like you have all those things that have now come to fruition, if you will. Like now, you're like, okay, I know about this, I know about that, but what am I going to do? And now you're doing what you're doing now. So
Right. And
it was all
it's
for
funny how,
something. Yeah,
because the thing is that what I was going to say is, like, I used to beat myself up pretty bad. Like, oh my God, I can't complete anything, I can't master anything. Like, I would look at people like
I can
you and
relate.
our friend Ryan, and be like, man, these dudes, they're just shining. And everybody, I realize, got to be kind to yourself. It's hard. Everybody's timeline is different. Everybody's,
Yeah,
way up, come up is different. And I used to just hammer myself. But here I am, I find myself in the current situation that I'm in here right now, and I'm finding that, wow, all of these skill sets are coming together. But throughout the years, something that I didn't give myself a pat on the back was I was determined to learn all of these things to eventually put stuff together like I'm putting down here, for the graphics,
yeah,
for the video, for, learning at, technology, understanding internet, because what
yeah.
I've
And the
worked at
graphics thing,
all
dude, you
comes.
made the logo for our little business we started for a while there. We tried it out.
Yeah,
I think the farmers market is what actually killed it. But before we did that, we're doing quite well, like just selling to people that I knew. I mean, you got some of the hot sauces, and but you made that logo. I thought that was great. Like that's exactly what I was hoping for. Something creative like that, but different. Like something was not like
I
everybody
appreciate it.
else's
Yeah,
shit. So yeah,
yeah.
I like it a lot. I
And
mean, we still got a bunch of the stickers. I hope to be able to use it someday somehow. I don't know if we'll be able to, but just because
certainly.
we let the business go, but we still have the name for
But
now. So
and I'm very hopeful, because the thing is that one thing I wanted to add is, like, there's a lot of transitioning that was going on throughout your life period, right? Like with Amanda, especially when you guys got together, and then each being a chef and whatever, and then boom, it leads into,
yeah,
a dream of trying to get something going there. But you said, I'm really considering and wanting to do this whole YouTube thing, and that's evolution. It's still a part of that
oh
whole
right,
thing, and
definitely want to do it.
it still goes down to the discipline. It's throughout the years being disciplined, not just for your career but for your family, and having being disciplined is making changes, because we talked about our extracurricular activities, the stuff we used to do, partied. There's a lot of us have been there. You go through some stress, or if not, you celebrate a certain way. But life has changed for us as we've
Yeah.
gotten older. The discipline was, this doesn't work here right now, but it just evolved and changed. We took that type of energy and we shifted into something else, and it's like, all right, well, right now, whether it's the economy or something in my life is not allowing this particular thing to happen, well, we got to figure something out. The discipline is, what is another solution? What can I do with the things that I know, the things that I've done, to incorporate into the now for my future?
So I just you were mentioning about how the discipline plays into that. So actually, this is good because to talk about discipline, I would have to talk about first about for me personally, and you might have some relation, you might have some things you relate to is the lack of discipline in the beginning, saying like how you grew, because when I'm talking about stories like even at the hotel or at the sports bars and stuff like, just the crazy shit that was going on there. Like, yes, like it, it was at that time back then that I wasn't quite, I didn't know I was going to do it for a living. It's just something that I knew how to do that I was pretty good at. I had enough discipline to show up to work every day. But other than that, there were certain things about the food that I had discipline, but I had to get more discipline as time went by. Once I got more serious about it, then the discipline came even more. Um,
Yeah,
we were talking about this just the other day. I think you said the same thing. Maybe the discipline is everything.
it is.
Because I mean, without, I mean, if you want to succeed in anything, it's a must. If you don't have it, you just won't succeed. So we've been talking about this back and forth, but like just obviously just being a parent, you know, like eating better, trying to exercise a little bit, just
Yeah.
trying to be a better person for them, and that takes a lot of
Hmm.
discipline. There was a guy one time. This is so long ago, I can't remember where I saw it at, but one thing that stuck with me, and it's so weird because it's just a little thing, but there was this ex-army marine guy or something. I don't know, some ex-military guy, I guess, that was like, when you get up in the morning to make your bed, it's so weird. They're like making your bed, like it's just like a jump off point to like, you've already accomplished just one thing, and now let's go do this, that, and this, and just keep it going. And I don't know, it's just that's a weird thing that always stuck with me. Like you could come to our house any day, and unless we're in bed, like the bed is going to be made. And the first thing in the morning, get up,
Right.
make the bed. That just always stuck with me, and that. I mean, that's a discipline in itself. Like a lot of people just it's just a mess.
ADHD does, it's going to come up a lot during my podcast and with the people that I speak with because, I'm part of a support group. I was diagnosed not long ago with a few other acronyms or whatever you want to call it, condition, medical terminology out there. ADHD, something that gets coupled along with that is kind of an inability of being disciplined or, constantly losing track for whatever it is, loss of focus, loss of energy, a few things that contribute. It's something that kind of came up in a page that I told you about earlier that I was one of the ADH things that I'm a part of. Motivational speaker said something about 80% of the things of your life get handled as long as you have discipline.
Yeah.
That's strong to me. And other people were like, oh, that's a bunch of, bullshit, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, it's really key if you want things to happen. It's something that needs to be, it's like an acquired taste if it's not already instilled, and it's a practice that you have to do daily, like doing your bed. When you get into the groove of it all, at first it's just you're out of habit, but then when you make it a habit and you start making good habits with that and doing repetition and then
Yeah.
routines as well, then discipline can become ingrained. I know for me, I didn't have discipline, and I could go into a bunch of reasons why. But as I got older, especially into my late 20s, I was like, I got to do something. I got to hold down a better job. I got to do X, Y, Z. And that's when I started stepping up and becoming more and more disciplined as I got older in my life and really embracing that mindset of like, hey, I know I'm not Mr. Disciplined billionaire CEO, whatever, but to be disciplined enough to be content with my life, to be able to live at a level where I'm comfortable, where I'm doing well enough to where I'm not starving or not living in some type of shambles, like clutter everywhere, because that's part of ADHD. A lot of it is
Hmm.
living in a very messy situation. Something that I admire you for is being a chef, because a lot of people say they work in the kitchen and they, you've seen some stuff on Hell's Kitchen or stuff with Ramsay. It's really shitty kitchens, grime everywhere, stuff that if you had seen as a customer or someone that is quality control, they're like, oh God, it doesn't matter what kind of good food you may be tasting, but I would never eat here knowing the stuff that's filth in this kitchen. You're very disciplined as a chef. I've seen the way that you work. I've seen your kitchen there at home. It takes a lot to be as clean as you are in how you handle food and how you prepare and clean up, especially to be ready for the next
Yeah.
round. So, all of that gets incorporated in this conversation.
Well,
Um,
it's funny what you say. So saying that about like clutter and stuff and the discipline, like that's, or before I was a head chef, I would just see other people work at their stations and there's shit everywhere. And they're running around frantically like, there's some shit here and just shove that to the side and push that to the side, kick it onto the floor. And then tell them like, you could work a lot better. They're like, oh, I'm so busy, I don't have time. Like, you do, because it's crazy. Like in your mind, when your station is cluttered and there's shit laying around and it's not where it's supposed to be, like it's hard to make it throws you off. If you don't
it
have a
does.
clean station. Not to mention, it's just fucking. If you're in the kitchen and you work like that, when I did become the chef, like you wouldn't have a job anymore. Not to be a dick about it, but like I obviously I wouldn't just see some mess or whatever and be like, you're fucking fired. Not like that. But I'm just saying, like if it was somebody who just over and over again, just like dude, like
Habitual.
I'm trying to give you the tools for success. I'm just saying, like, if you have a clean and organized station, just a little wipe here, put that back where it goes, just look, and things will move so much faster. Because when you got a mess and things are cluttered, and it's
Yeah,
like that with other things in your life too. Like if you got a cluttered mess, it's so easy to become derailed and lose focus. And that's
seeing that.
discipline. Like that's to to
Yeah.
to do that job to and
Mm.
or any job like that. You got to be disciplined. You got to keep things in order, keep things organized. You can't have a mess, because
Well,
how could you progress in anything when everything's a mess?
and to piggyback off that, it turns into self sabotage, right? Because the thing is
Yeah,
that people get frustrated, and a lot of people don't take into account because account accountability, right? Being
yeah,
accountable for your actions, you wind up ruining your future self. So if you don't pick this up as like clean as you're working, that goop in the pan that you could have taken care of so easily, that you could have done it so briskly while you're in the middle of doing something while you're cooking, later on, 15 minutes later, an hour later, whatever, you could have prepared yourself for that moment. But instead, you're like,
no,
oh, no, and then you just added frustration. Sometimes you add
yep,
self doubt. It's just a ball of energy, negative energy, a lot of mental problems that you wind up running into because it's
uh,
just your ticker's just sitting there pissed off about all these things that are conflicting. And what happens usually? Most people, a lot of people, start pointing outward instead of being like, well, I should have taken care of that sooner. I could have done this better. And that is all part of that conversation, the discipline thing.
yeah.
It's just being able to think ahead. Thinking ahead is a part of that game.
My brother recently stopped drinking. This is amazing to me. He's been sober 5 or 6 months or some shit. This is insane. He's
Awesome.
drank as far as I can remember. Um,
Discipline. Awesome.
and yeah, that's major discipline to go from that to that is unbelievable to me. I mean, I'm so proud of him. Yeah, that's and you met my buddy Mikey before, right? He was in the band, young Mikey. Um,
Yeah.
got crazy long dreads now, but he's also quit drinking, and like these are like it's just such positive stuff.
And that's why when I do start talking about the thing that I've gotten into lately, which is a dynamic self awareness. Yeah, dynamic self awareness. Uh, it really, the key word is allow for me. You have to allow yourself to embrace something new, to produce change in order to get to determination and then eventually discipline, right? Everything has its steps. It all just doesn't snap and fire off at once. But a
Yeah.
lot of people, for whatever reasons, they don't allow themselves. There's some kind of block. But I'm here to help people or be helpful to
Yeah.
people that are good people, caring people that
Hmm.
want to receive and then eventually contribute. It's like being an antenna, you're receiving and then you transmit. And it's that passing the buck forward type deal. But I want to
Hmm.
deal with people who are willing, people who want to allow themselves, people who are like really, they got that hunger to generate some change in their life. I want to continue this conversation because I think it's important that not just, whatever I've got to share, but there's people that I feel like yourself that, have a lot of assets. There's a lot of accomplishments, things that I feel that they can share that would contribute to helping somebody else and see it from a different perspective, or maybe something brand new that hasn't been said before, at least to them,
Yeah.
that could help them along the way and make a difference in life. But I don't want to cut this too short. We're kind of running in on our
No, I
record
mean
allowance here on these sessions.
you're you're gonna have some you're the tech guy. You're gonna have some editing to do for sure.
Yeah, discipline. We're gonna be doing it in
Discipline,
20-minute increments.
yeah.
There's no way, dude. This right
Yeah.
here, this will be the longest ever. This would literally take me freaking days in one session. This is going to take a moment, and it's good though. It'll be worth it. It really will be.
Oh, I agree. This
But
this is awesome, man. This has been fun.
tapping into gray is my baby because, for me, I want it to be the antidote. I want it to be the alternative. I want it to be a safe haven for those who truly have a heart and are having a problem with the mind. And I want to do my best to try to put together some resources, and also coming up soon that we talked about, a community where it's people really getting
Yeah,
together and
that's gonna be
helping each
exciting.
other out.
I'm excited about that. Like just
Yeah,
I we talked about this for a while. I think it's a great idea. Kind of a how do you say? Kind of an umbrella that's able to kind of touch and all these different different walks of life really. Then bring that in for a close-up view, so to speak. I'm sure there's other people that will come on at whatever other people that I know, or that you know, or that we know. I'm sure their stories will. I mean, they're unique.
I guess we'll go ahead and tie it up right there. Again, thank you for being on board, bro.
Yeah, anytime, man. You know that.
No doubt. Okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead and call it quits here. Thank you for watching episode 7. It was our discussion about discipline. You got to meet my buddy here, Barry. He's going to be on board again. As we mentioned, there's a community for Tap Into the Gray that's going to be coming up here. I'll talk more about that later, and all the plans that I happen to have. Certainly hope that you enjoyed this episode. Y'all have a great day. Peace.